important message. I love you.
And now, coming to you from the classiest radio station on the air, this is
Minnow Town Hall.
Man, I love that thing every single time that I hear it and I see it. It was the song is put together by Soundwaves Photon, and the music the music was Soundwaves Photon, and it was Hardic V that actually put that whole thing together. You don't hear any typing. All right, who's going to be talking about Steem Monsters? It's me. It's Aggro, the guy that founded it. So we're going to have some stat chat here. I have a little bit of work that I have to do for just for some of the Steam parts here. What is Steem Monsters? We can go talk about it. Okay, so I thought that we would have a nice lady by the name of Food and Art come along. So I'm hoping that they'll be here. I think that they'll get the time right. I'm not positive, but I'm expecting them. I have a couple different things to talk about. One of the starting points I like to do, although not this week, because it's a little bit brutal. What's my website that I go to? I like to go start just by talking about prices of these things. But today is just freaking savage. So here's TradingView. Make yourself appear online. That's a great plan. There's Aggroed. Okay. Of Food and Art is in the waiting. Oh, they are in the waiting room. Okay, that's perfect. Hey, Ron, is there any way that you can sound check Of Food and Art and also check Chef Steve? So what we're doing right now, it's called the Minnow Town Hall. On the Minnow Town Hall, I sort of will invite people onto the show. They get to go talk with us for a little bit. The first 15 minutes of this, or the first 20 minutes of this, is just going to be sort of a generic Minnow Town Hall. And then the next 2 hours of this is going to be Steem Monsters. And it's a stat chat for Steem Monsters because lots of people are interested in this. And while we're doing this, I'm also going to go, I'll talk a little bit about the story stuff that we've been talking about, but the bulk of tonight is just going to be all about stats and gameplay and how that thing works. So while Ron is sort of sound checking them, and then he'll eventually bring them into the live on air channel, I'm just here to go give a quick update about some prices, and the prices aren't fun to talk about. They're a little savage, frankly. I mean, unless you have a lot of cash. If you're sitting on a lot of cash, you should be laughing your ass off right now because this is amazing. So the price of Steem is down to 182, 183. We had a pretty rough day today. It looks like we crashed from 223 to 183, so 40 cents or somewhere around 15 or 20%. That's a little troublesome. We might go back all the way down to one of our main support lines at 137. So if we keep falling, we might get caught at 148. We might go all the way down to 133. So yeah, when prices go down, it's time to deploy some capital. It would be fun. I don't have a lot of cash these days. I just like owning crypto, and I hate owning cash. And I didn't cash out when we hit the all-time high. So I was a fool. Didn't do it then. I'm gonna remember for the next all-time high to go hard into stable asset currencies. Okay. So yeah, now would be an amazing time. If you're sitting on $200,000 of cash and you're feeling pretty confident about life and you don't need to draw it down right away, I'm going to sell maybe not my kidney, but I'm willing to sell somebody's kidney so that I could get some cash to go buy in extra. Because 181 Steem sounds pretty good to me. All right, let's go look at Bitcoin because I think that BTC USD. So again, I'm not here to go do full on. This is not meant to be Coinbase. I don't want that. Yeah, BT USDT, Tether, Bittrex. So I'm not here to go provide technical analysis or anything. I just kind of want to talk prices real quick. So Bitcoin is down to $6,704 right now. And again, that's another one of these times that I'm like, the most recent crash was at 6,000. So we're just 10% above the most recent lows since, when is this? November of last year. So we're very much approaching sort of like 6 or 7 month lows. That might be a sweet time to do that. Don't know. Can't tell you what to do. Not your investment advisor or anything like that, but just sort of reporting here. And then lastly, the last one I want to do before going and talking to of Food and Art and Chef Steve, just for a couple minutes before we dive into Steem Monsters. This is going to be this is SBD USDT, USD, and then I can get this off of Bittrex. So the latest price for our SBD, this one is going to hurt your soul a little bit too. I see 138. So that is actually just about like the lowest it's been since November. So this is rough. I mean, this is a tough little correction that we're sitting in. Hurts me in the feels. So anyways, hang in there. Nobody commits suicide. You're all wonderful, beautiful human beings. The markets will go back up. Life will go on. You can do some work or something. So anyways, that's just a quick update on prices in case you're not following. Today's a rough day to follow, but it's good to do that. There you go. Thank you, Inertia. Seems important to do that. Yeah, you are all lovely people. Don't make dumb decisions. All right, so the next thing I want to do, now that I've just sort of like mentioned what prices are, I want to go talk to Chef Steve and Of Food and Art. These are two people that I invited on. They have a contest that they do. Once we've kind of spoken about this contest, then we'll switch gears into Steem Monsters. We'll do that for like an hour to two, explaining how the game works and sort of getting the conceptual framework for how we're going to build the stories and how we play. So I can hear Chef Steve of Food and Art. Are you? I can hear Chef Steve of Food and Art. Are you there too?
Yes. Hi, Agro.
Hey, Agro, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you both. I know you guys might not have actually been able to hear because I wasn't holding down push to talk while in the live room, but you've had a very small introduction. I guess I can say a little bit more. I know of Food and Art through her son. Her son runs the YouTube channel They Will Kill You in association with Renee, who runs World 5 List. So I met them in a Steam panel discussion where we were trying to go talk to YouTube creators to go come onto the Steam platform to sort of build their brand here and then figure out what to do. Prices have dipped some, so I don't know where all the YouTube creators are at this moment, but I know that when these prices come back, it's going to be extremely attractive. So that's how I sort of ran into the YouTube creators and into this family. And then from there, I think he brought you on to the Steam platform, and then you guys started working on a food contest. Did I get my story correct?
Yeah, that's pretty close. We met last fall, I guess, when we were competing in another competition, and then we got an idea how to make our own version, like our own take on a food competition that really appealed to us. So we just teamed up and went for it.
So what so you have a competition now? What are we? So you've been blogging about food for how many months now? 4 or 5?
Yeah, I joined last summer in July and was just blogging about food, and then we started the competition in March of this year. So we're in our 14th week right now of the Cook With Us competition.
So can you explain what the competition is? What are people doing for the Cook With Us?
Well, each week we have a theme that we have posted in advance on a calendar, so people can get to know, what the calendar's like and what they want, which week they want to enter. And then each week, as at the beginning of the week, we have a mystery theme to kind of give another way of approaching the task. And So that's basically the format of the contest. And I don't know, Anna, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's basically a learning tool for the community because we get to learn from each other about food techniques, and there's a lot of outside of Steam It, there's a lot of food blogging happening, and the people who are really interested in getting into food blogging within Steam It, this is their chance to write about food and learn about food. And also it's also appealing because people in Steam It like contests. So this is their way of being active, and it also gives them ideas of what to blog about.
Yeah, another thing that was cool that I just discovered over the first season, or first season of Cook With Us is ending after this week, and we're going to take a short break and come back in July. But one of the coolest things that I personally found is just the community that we built and all these like-minded people, and it's just fun to see everyone interacting, and then we are on Discord and everyone's chatting. It's just a really great place.
Where are you hosting your Discord group? Do you have your own contest one? Oh, sorry. Do you guys have your own Discord group that you're hosting?
Yes, we have our own Discord. It's the Cook With Us Discord channel.
Hopefully hopefully one of you can post the Discord link into the msp-waves audience channel, so that folks can find it.
Oh, sure. Let's see how they.
So what are the basic rules of the contest? How would people participate?
So basic rules are you just have to make sure you follow the theme for the week, and then present your recipe with all the ingredients, and then you also provide a proof photo, and that's pretty much it. We're trying to make it as easy as possible to enter, but also have a few rules in there just to make sure that we have original content coming in.
Okay. Do you guys, sometimes I see some some recipes that people are doing copy paste for. How are you like checking to make sure that things that people are writing about or any recipes that they might share are original to the author?
It's funny, you just get a feeling, like when you see a post, I personally just get a feeling, I'm like, this seems a little bit weird, and then I go look into it and I realize that it's a copy and paste, and then it's basically disqualified. But it doesn't actually happen that often. I mean, most of our people are really into actually cooking. You have a few folks who are trying to copy and paste and try to earn some money from the reward pool, and but it's pretty easy to spot. Probably because I have a lot of experience with cooking, so I can see it.
So what are the rewards for the contest? What if folks win if they're blogging successfully?
So what we started off with was first, second, and third place. So first place is $5 Steam dollars, second is $3 Steam dollars, and third is $1 Steam dollar. And what happened was, after a few weeks of the competition, we noticed a lot of the same people winning each week. So we basically created a higher tier called the winner circle. And so we have basically two levels of competition now. And the winner circle also has a first, second, and third, $5, $3, and $1 Steam dollars respectively. And so basically we have two competitions going within the same competition. This way more people get a chance to win.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What else should we know about it? What else do we need? What would you look for new people to go participate in this?
Anna, what do you think?
Basically, what do we look for? It's more of, well, we're really targeting the food community, right? But we noticed that when we started, there was a good amount of interest, and then it kind of slowed down towards the middle, about maybe the 7-8 week, and it picked up again towards the time that we had like a vegan theme. For some reason, the vegan community in the Steam It world is very active. And then, so now we have more contestants. It's very active again. So what are we looking for? We're looking to grow more, and we're also looking to get probably more exposure so that we can get sponsorship. We're quite lucky this the last recent weeks. We've had sponsorship from this guy called Zord. He's amazing because he's
Zord 189.
Zord 189.
Yep.
And it's actually given us a little bit of momentum, and we're like Steve said, we're ending the season this week, and that's given us a lot of his support has given us a lot of momentum, and people are excited because we have the funding. Initially, we had Winner Circle as just having one winner, the first prize winner, but because of his support, we're able to also have a second and third placer for the last 3 weeks of this first season. So basically, we're hoping to get more exposure and maybe some tips, Agro, if you could probably share some, if you have any ideas how we can get more exposure and support as well.
Well, exposure is easy. I can go hit you. Oh, look, Zord 189 is here. So thank
Yay!
you, Zord.
Oh, hey, Zord.
Big thank you.
So I guess the two things I can do, I can actually supply you with a couple re-steams. When does the contest start up again? When is season 2?
First week of July.
All
right
right,
before.
so that's not that far. When you start up season 2, certainly go DM me. And when these posts go live, is there its own wall, or is this running off of one of your two?
No, we created our own. It's called the Cook With Us is where it lives.
Okay, so somebody should DM that to me. I'm not sure that I even knew that. So you should put like the most recent post into chat so that people can know about it. When it comes time, I'm totally fried and my brain is just mush. When it comes time to this, you guys should go DM me and be like, "Hey, Agro, can you re-steam this?" And I can get it out to 21,000 accounts.
Awesome.
And then the last thing, how many people are participating?
I'd say it averages. Well, it ranges from. I think our lowest was about 7. And then our highest was about 20, right? Or 18?
Yeah, 20, 22.
22.
Yeah.
So I could even kick in a couple Steam Monster packs. So if you wanted to give the winner like 3 or 5 packs each week or something, as long as you guys sign in so that you can like receive these cards. I don't want to manage like sending 2 to this person and 3 to that person. That's too much work, and I'm already fried. But I'd be happy to go send like of food and art. I like know your family, trust you. I'd happily send you something like 25, and then each week you could go give 5 to the upper tier winner or maybe the lower tier winner. I don't know. You can mix it up, but I'd be happy to go send you a couple packs to go kind of. On the one hand, promote your contest. On the other hand, you can help promote Steem Monsters to the cooking community and see if there's any gamers in that.
Great. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So there's some sponsorship and there's some visibility.
I just started reading about the Steem Monsters. I didn't know about that until the past week.
Well, it's little stuff like this that like there's a million contests, and if I just print cards and give it to people that are already players and already heavily involved, that's kind of like a bad inflation. But if I'm giving like 1 or 2 cards to brand new players to bring them into the ecosystem, then that's actually really exciting for me, and that's like good exposure because then hopefully people catch the bug and want to play more and be part of our economy and part of the game and help us fund development. So, it's a small thing to go get a couple packs out to a contest, especially if you guys are like focused on new users. So I'd be happy to go do that. In terms of other sponsorship, the other thing that seems to happen is that I think folks have been having some success going to bottom 20 and top 20 witnesses and saying things like, hey, we run a contest. We have this many people that participate every week. Would you be interested in sponsoring this? And we can go put up some kind of image for your witness, and you can use that to go try to catch votes and show that you're giving back to this community with the rewards that you get.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we could try that. That's a good idea.
So
Hey, Agro, we have another person in our team, and it's Panda Mama, and
Oh, she's
I was
in-
wondering if she's in the waiting
sure.
room.
I didn't know.
Could we
Let me
invite
go-
her over?
Yeah, let me pull her on. Panda Mama. Hey, Panda Mama, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
Thank
Ryan was
you.
asking me. I couldn't remember the third person's name, but I'm glad that Of Food and Art reminded me.
Okay, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you great.
Okay, but I couldn't get onto the. Can't
That's-
hear. Or
Yeah,
I can't hear
that's
anything.
probably my fault. Sorry about that. You know, so
No problem.
we had a brief discussion about trying to support the contest. I'm happy to re-steam it when it comes up, and that'll be 21,000 accounts that it goes to. I don't know if I do that every single week, but certainly a couple times over the course of next season, I'm more than happy to spread the love. I shared that I would be
Yeah.
happy to go provide some Steem Monsters cards to the winner to help kind of support the funds for the contest, and then I also suggested that you guys can approach some of the witnesses and say, hey, we have this many contestants. We're just looking for 5 SBD per week or something. Can you please support this contest? And we'll go support your
Oh,
witness.
wonderful.
So those would be...
So am I too late to speak now?
No, go for it.
But how do I get on? Because I can't hear anything.
Oh, no, I mean, you're speaking. We can hear you just fine. This is the thing.
Why am I not hearing anything or hearing anybody else?
Well, can you hear Of Food and Art? Of Food and Art, will you say something?
Hi,
Hey, Christine.
Christine. I'm
Can you
here.
hear us?
we're listening to you. That's why we're quiet.
Yeah. So we're all here. It's all good. What else would you care to share?
Well, I'd just like to say thank you so much for having us here. It's been an absolutely incredible journey, and we've met so many wonderful people. We have contestants that are connecting with one another, talking to one another. It's absolutely the best ever. They're loving each other, they're supportive, and it's just been an amazing ride.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys got off to a good start, and getting started on Steam is hard, and you got to kind of like jostle your way in. You got to like, if you're on a dance floor, you kind of have to lift up your elbows and kind of get yourself some room. But
Yes.
once you get going and once you stick with it, and I really like the way that you guys have done this in a team, because it's a lot easier to not. It's easier to give up if you're like, well, I'm just doing this thing and nobody's paying attention and it's hard. But when you have 3 people and you can all kind of stick together, you start growing and can start seeing how this thing can take off.
Yeah, it's really the secret to our success, I think, is having the team and having people to rely on and to push you, and it's great.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work. I mean, running a contest is a lot of work, and you're right. I mean, at some point, you'd think, "Oh, why am I doing this?" But we're helping each other out, and we're seeing the good that it does to the community. The community is really excited. We have good people, and they create great work and inspiring work. So it keeps us going.
Yep. Yeah, and actually, we've just noticed too, like in the last few weeks, like every week, like people are just pushing themselves more and more and making incredible entries. It's so much fun to read this content and to, I mean, I personally learn a lot each week, something from all around the world that I'm not familiar with,
Well, that sounds great. All right. Any last thoughts to share here?
Well, I was thinking how you mentioned that you would be willing to do some re-steams, and that would be awesome. Maybe we can time them for season 2 of Cook With Us when we have some like big announcements to make.
Yeah. That's the absolute goal. So what I can really do for you, especially because you're minnows and like getting started on this platform, Agrode has something like 21,000 followers. The Minnow Support Project has maybe 19,000, and Love Juice, a bidbot that I operate, has something like 4,000 or 5,000. So when it comes time to when you have sort of a plan, put together a plan and just say, hey, these are the 3 or 4 re-steams that we'd like to kind of kick off this season. And then when I do this, I can go hit all of those major accounts and try to get you the biggest launch that I can.
That'd be
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah, that would be great.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
So let's do that. So
Yeah.
you guys are going on a little break, but back the first week of July for some good. Are you going to have like a grilling competition because it's going to be July 4th weekend?
Actually, do we? I don't even know what this. Actually, we don't even have the schedule yet, do we? Yet for July?
No, not for season 2, but we should finalize one soon.
It should be out this week, actually. But yeah, probably something grilling related for 4th of July.
Yeah.
Everybody and their mother in America is going to be outdoors
Yeah.
with a grill.
Yeah, and that's why we did a grilling one too, Memorial Day.
Yeah,
just
Memorial Day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got a couple other things that I need to get onto, but I'm stoked that you guys came on. I'm stoked that you have this great contest that's growing. I'm happy to personally support it with some re-steams and some Steem Monster packs to try to catch some new folks to come into our ecosystem, and we'll see how it goes.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Edward.
much, Agrid.
All right.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, guys. And
Great.
all right. So that was of Food and Art. Hopefully that team can go put their contest blog into the msp-waves chat here, and they'll also be able to I don't know, the main account, and maybe give any kind of recent posts or contest details so that if people like the food stuff, there we go, cook with us.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Well,
Great. Thanks, and we'll talk to you again, Gregor.
yeah.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Take
Okay.
care.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Okay.
now.
Bye. Bye.
Whoops.
Bye.
All right. So, thank you for those folks coming in. What I want to do now is sort of start up the stat chat discussion. I don't know if other people are going to want to come on. We can sort of postpone some of that stuff until later. I know this is going to be stat chat. I want to take maybe 10 minutes or something just to go kind of cover some of what we figured out for the story writing. So if you need like a little snack or something and you don't care about the story, you're welcome to go take a real quick mini break. So there's a couple things I want to mention, and then we're going to go dive straight into the stats. So here's the stats. They're right here. I promise you this is going to be the meat of what we do tonight. But I want to get through just a couple things before we get there. One of the main things that I think is awesome that we're doing is, I ran a Kickstarter campaign and I raised $21,000 for a game. The game was called Get Some. It was a naughty game. The goal was to play cards so that in the game your character would get laid a bunch before making too many babies. And I know it's a saucy topic. This game is much more family friendly than that, but in the process of doing that, I was like selling different ways that people could get into the game, and like they could be in a bachelor party, they could have friends, they could do whatever. There were fun events or ways that you could do that. And similarly, I've started doing that same kind of thing here. So bringing the Kickstarter atmosphere into the Steem blockchain, it's actually a pretty good fit because we can post, we can kind of do auctions this way. The very first auction that we put together actually went quite swimmingly. I wanted people to bid on being in the game as a boss fight. So we're going to have some PvP, we're going to have some PvE. PvP is player versus player. PvE is player versus environment. So in PvE, you're going to get together as a guild and try to kill the boss. And we sold that for 650 Steem to Exile. And Exile is building his character and backstory, and it's going to impact the game. And the other one that we did is I sold for 600 Steem to Neoxian the ability to go enter into the campaign. So there's going to be a one-player campaign, and you're going to be in here, and Neoxian's going to be a dragon that's sort of like a mana hoarding or magic hoarding dragon who runs this bank, and he'll have like a magic bank, and there's going to be consequences, and that will impact the world as a whole. So you guys, if you're players in this game, you're going to go assemble your teams, and in a guild fight, you're going to kill Exile, and in a solo campaign mode, you're going to have to fight Neoxian. and I have a couple other options. So I'm calling them the various splinters, because the way that the storyline works is that the world used to be whole, and then it shattered it, or it splintered into the kind of different groups, and then the prophecy states that the world will be whole again. And what you're doing in the campaign mode is sort of playing through the different splinters and getting the storyline from that. And I'm selling the opportunity to be a boss monster at the end of one of those splinter campaigns. And you can design your character, you can design your look, you can design the fight and how the players are going to have to interact with you. As we get a loot system involved in this, we can kind of design what loot might fall, and we're going to go build you as a not just a card, because it won't be a card. You are going to be a heroic boss monster that the characters are going to have to fight. So they'll have a summoner, and they'll have a couple cards, and you'll either be like one big strong enemy, or we'll design a fight around, like, here's your main tank and a couple off tanks, and here's damage, and it'll be it's narcissistic whales. I mean, that's not it's not just narcissistic. I mean, what I think Exile was really excited about is that he's like, hey, this makes me feel like a kid again. And actually, there's a lot of people that are like, I played Yu-Gi-Oh!, I played Magic the Gathering, I played Pokemon, and I love that stuff. I love sharing it with my kids, and this is just awesome. Like, Steem Monsters makes me feel that again. And but I think that's what I'm really selling. And not only I'm selling like coolness, I'm selling you get to be part of the game, that everybody in this whole community that plays this is going to fight you and your character. But honestly, like, just that character creation and seeing yourself be part of this, and just the kind of like childhood joy that should bring back. That's what I think I'm actually selling. So hopefully some of you guys get interested. Right now, the bidding price is 600 Steem, which I know is steep. And what I did is that if it goes unfilled, then the price starts going lower and lower. So we'll see if anybody bites at the 600 mark. Later on, I kind of reduce the price some, and I add 110 booster packs, and then if it makes it to the last day, then I add 220 booster packs and bring the price down to 500. So we'll see where that goes. Maybe people will buy, maybe they won't. Maybe I priced it too high. So we're gonna see. We'll see what that actually does. And adults play this stuff too. I mean, that's okay. All right, so that's the boss fight stuff. Let me go put this link into the Discord chat real quick. So if that's something that you're interested in, I'd love to have. If you know some whales, if you are a whale, if you got a little scratch and you just want to be in the game, this is something that can help you. This is a way to have fun with this. All right, so the next thing that I kind of wanted to go talk about is that we're hosting this in the Steam Discord, or not the Steam, the Peace, Abundance, and Liberty Discord, but we have a different Discord for the game, and the game itself is at this one. So let me go pass this along just to make sure that everybody has it. And in this Discord, this is the Steem Monsters Discord. This is where we meet. This is where we trade. This is where actually we're building the story. So the next 5 minutes or the next 10 minutes of what I want to talk about is how we're building the story in this game. When I grew up, I played a game. I read these books that were called Choose Your Own Adventure. And you would read a couple pages, and then it would say, go to this other page. And then you'd read a couple pages, and it would say, go to this other page. You'd make decisions, maybe fight some monsters. And it was fun to sort of interact with this book in a non-linear fashion. And what I want to do here is create a epic story, but I don't want it to simply be my creation. That's not nearly as fun as involving this entire community of people that want to go build the lore and build the characters and build the storyline for this. So I've provided some very basic elements, and then we're going to go have teams of writers that want to go contribute to this. So some people are wondering, what is the process for this? So I've put together something that's called the Steem Monsters Campaign Setting Process Doc. So this is how you become a writer for this. This is the kind of stuff that explains to you just some basics of the game. It explains to you some of the areas that they're going to fight in, some of the things that we have to talk about, and then it has some major events and some minor events. And so the major events, everybody, all the different teams are going to have to talk about what happened in those years and how they experienced it. And then some of the minor events, they're going to have to go through and sort of co-create together. And then I talk about the logistics. There's some money involved in this. There's some copyright involved in this. Yeah, that link right there that I just gave you, this is the HackMD. So this is now out, and I'm sharing this. And ultimately, what I really want you to do, it's going to screw me up to go into Discord, but on the Steem Monsters Discord, which is also in the chat channel right now, there's a whole bunch of the different writers groups. There's an overall writers group, and then there's the different splinters or colors, the blue, black, green, gold. What's the other one? And then there's sort of, this document is in the documents folder, or the documents chat area. So if you're interested in becoming a writer with this thing, here's the process. It basically describes, look, we're gonna crowdsource this, and we're gonna have 6 team, 1 for each splinter, and that's gonna kind of be a nightmare. And in order to go make that nightmare a little bit more sensical, I'm providing some common experience that everybody's going to reflect on. So we have some of the commonalities. And then the second part, and this is why people are going to get paid for this, is that I got a template. And so when you're actually creating the story for this, what I want to know is, what's the culture of the green team? What is the government? How does the magic work? What does marriage look like? What does birth look like? What is I don't know, how do you train for combat? What's the religion? What do you actually trade back and forth with one another? And eventually we're going to have to make it so that you're not just interacting green to green or blue to blue. You're going to start getting, blue starts interacting with black. What does that look like? The dragons are going to start interacting with red. What does that look like? But before we can kind of understand what these things are going to go, how these groups are going to interact with one another, we kind of have to set some very standard pieces. So what I've done is I've put together the template. Now within this template, like, there's so many options of what you could write in terms of, like, if I ask what's the government, you can put lots of different things. If I say what's the religion, you can put lots of things. If I say how does magic work, you can put lots of different things. But some of these categories, everybody has to answer the same kinds of questions so that I can build cohesive stories around this stuff. So these are in here. I've put in some kind of leading questions for the stuff that I need to know. I haven't put in leading questions for everything because I literally did this today. So I know that I have to put more things in here. But a whole bunch of the process of writing the story now has been worked out. And I guess just to give a little bit of background of where that came from, Dungeons & Dragons has campaign settings, and there's 20 of them. So if you go kind of scroll down this list, and if you're in chat, I don't know, you might not be seeing it, but here's the Wikipedia list. It's got, what are some of the big ones? Dark Sun, lots of people know. Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk, Ravenloft. Those are some of the big ones that, like, people actually recognize. And so what I've done is not steal their content, because I don't want to mess with their content. I don't want to tell the same story. But what I've done is go through a lot of the tables of contents and start wondering, what kinds of questions are they answering in these guides? How are they building the campaign? What do you have to know to build a campaign or a backstory or lore? And so I've gone through these books, mostly looking at the table of contents, or actually zooming into the text to find out, what are they talking about? What are they describing? And again, like, I don't care what the actual weapon of choice is, as long as it's kind of consistent with the characters. But then pulling that back out and saying, each one of my splinters needs to talk about what weapons are going to be commonly used, how the magic works. Like, the only one that I'm certain is, I want for the white team or the white splinter to do alchemy. And so alchemy is going to be the way that they summon. But how the white alchemy team summons could be completely different than the way that like the green team does. The one example that I've said publicly is maybe they use seeds and they like pump some power into the seeds and out crops these monsters, and that's how you summon a monster from the seed. Whereas in the white team, you're alchemy, so you're going to have kind of potions that you're going to push together, and out of that brew will come these monsters. So there's a ton of flexibility in how you're actually going to build that. But I do know that like as I build these stories so that we can like have a campaign setting and talk about all these things, people got to describe how the magic works. So again, I'm not stealing the content of Greyhawk. I'm not stealing the content of Ravenloft. It's not like a goth horror setting necessarily. Maybe the black team is, and that's your choice. But that's, I just needed the format of what goes into the campaign guide, so I pulled a lot of that out. The steampunk team, there's not goblins yet in this. But there are goblins that are going to be put into this, and the goblins are most likely to be kind of steampunkish. So if you wanted kind of like building it, like the goblin engineer is one of the themes that's been around for like ever. So why break that? It's what people know. So I don't think it's going to be one of the major factions, but actually, Inertia, to your point. So the game right now, it has summoners and monsters. What it's also going to have is items. Now, we haven't built items yet, and you can't customize with items yet. But when I show you the stats, the stats give the characters their health and their speed and their damage. It also gives them abilities like flying, like poison, like other things. I could totally imagine that you would be able to buy some cards from the Goblin engineers. You go to them and you say, "Give me flying wings." And so, sort of like the if you play League of Legends, there's like the arms dealers. You could have something like Goblin steampunk arms dealers that then give you magically enhanced steampunk wings to make your, I don't know, your animated corpse is now a flying animated corpse, or we're going to have the ability to kind of give these things in. So there's not mercenary camps now. I mean, the closest thing to that is sort of what Exile is building. So we have sort of a splinter that's not one of the main story arc splinters, and they're going to be bad guys, at least relative to the splinters. It's going to be one of the first boss fights. So it's not quite the same thing as a mercenary, but there is going to be sort of like the guild PvP is going to involve this other group that I haven't really described all that much. So that's out there. But is the game going to get a GitHub? We get some good devs on Steam. Maybe others can come up with some great additions in the future. Yabba can't make it today, so I don't know how much of this we are going to open source or not. The goal, a lot of the goal is to make it so that people can do these things on the Steam blockchain and make it easier. So we might keep it like... we might keep it private for the first year or until we're in beta and then release a lot of the GitHub. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do this yet. I defer a lot of the technical questions to him. The license that we're currently planning on doing is the license that we're currently planning on doing is a non-commercial. So basically any activity that you want to do with our cards, our art, our stuff that isn't mass producing a game and selling it is something that we would support. So what I'm really trying to prevent is like, if this thing blows up, I don't want people coming in and being like, okay, I'm going to take a T-Rex, make a plushie, make 10,000 of them, stick Aggrod's logo on this and sell it. Because that's not what we're really intending. But if you're like a kid and you want to go play games and make stuff and experiment and just play with this thing, we certainly want to make that happen. It wouldn't be the end of the world. Inertia's taught me actually a bunch about trying to be more flexible on the idea of property rights and thinking that like intellectual property is something that should really be shared amongst everybody. So I kind of want to go the patent approach. Not that I'm actually going to patent this game, but do something like, give me a year head start to make sure that we are up and running and kind of we're the ones that are out front, and Steam Monsters is the most prominent thing that we're doing. But then after that, we'll just make it available to everybody. And some of the innovations that we're doing that I think are really going to affect this entire blockchain. I'm not ready to go divulge all of our secrets, but we have some pretty freaking cool things that are coming. And when we do that, I want to have first mover advantage so that, frankly, I just have enough money to build this game the way it ought to be built. But yeah, I personally don't see any reason why I wouldn't want it to be open sourced. Is it going to be open sourced in alpha? Probably not. Is it going to be open sourced in beta? I don't know. I think that's a maybe. I think Yaba is going to have strong opinions or have majority sway there. Is it going to be? Are we going to go do open source when this game is fully live and we've kind of built our community and things are rocking and rolling? At that point, I would be highly inclined to make sure that that's the case. So. I don't know how well that answer suits you guys, but that's currently what I'm thinking. Okay, was there anything else I wanted to share? I think that's the bulk of it. So you guys have been really, really patient. Thank you. It looks like a couple people are typing, so I just want to see, in part because Inertia's typing, I want to see what he's got, and then I'll move on. Care about published and therefore verifiable economics. Yeah, there's like 2 transactions that I did early on that I should be, I'm a little sheepish about sharing. I printed 200 cards or something. I bought them with Aggroed and then I just refunded them with Steem Monsters. Other than those 200 packs, everything else that I've done has been on the blockchain through Steem Monsters purchasing Steem Monster cards. And so when I'm recording this, just so you know, Jarvie. You are welcome to take notes, but all of this is recorded too. So just a heads up. So every what was I going to say? Every transaction for inflation is actually stored. You can go find out how many cards I've printed. It looks a little fishy. Because I printed 700 cards at one point. That was for a sale that came through in US dollars. So there's one going to Matt Monarch that I printed a whole bunch of these in succession. It looks like maybe I'm just inflating it because there's not a purchase that is coming through the block, but that's because it was a US dollar purchase off the block. With the exception of the 2 times I used Aggroed early on to go print cards and give them to myself, and then not because I kept them, but because I needed to transfer them. And with the exception of the 700 cards that I sold to Matt Monarch for US dollars or an Amazon gift card, everything else has actually been on the Steem Monsters account. So when it prints cards to itself, you can actually track how many of these have we done. Initially, I know that inflation is a real thing. So, my overall goal is to keep this at 5% inflation in the first year or less. In the first 6 months, it might look higher, like 10%, because we need to do some giveaways and gift cards and stuff. But the goal is it's not going to scale. What I'm doing is giving like 5 here and 10 there. We're running a couple contests, and as those contests go, we're going to give some Steem Monster cards. But most of this, like the biggest one so far has been the map, and that was 60. That went out to 4 different people. All right, no, it was 120, and it went out to 4 different people. It was 60 per team. So, but like, if we scale and we sell 100,000 cards, or 100,000 boosters, I'm not going to suddenly switch to like, let's build a map. Here's 1,000 booster packs that go with this. It's not going to scale that way. So like, the more packs that we sell, and when I keep my contests at like 10 or 15 packs or something, the amount of inflation that we do is quite small. an onboard website that you can buy a starter pack, booster pack, and includes a Steam account. We're working on that. I'm frankly a little nervous to get involved in U.S. dollars. Like we are certainly under the radar if this thing is all through crypto. If I start accepting U.S. dollars for cards, that puts us into kind of a different category. So I get nervous, mostly because I don't know the rules, and I'm not sure that anybody knows the rules, and we'd be in some weird gray zone. What I'm trying to do, Yaba has asked Block Trades if he can set up like an API. Block Trades has a way to go use lots of different cryptos to go purchase a Steam account. The other one that I asked some guy if he can go set up an API so that we can go do like set up an account through a non-Steam and have that happen on the Steem Monsters account. So those are two people that I've asked to help us kind of just use their existing framework and just shove it into our site. So I haven't gotten answers about that. That was just like 2 days ago. But I hear you on the credit card. Both Yaba and I are discussing how we want to do that and what the consequences of doing that might be. There's no doubt that like we could use cards as look, we're not selling you crypto, we're selling you cards. Therefore, we're not falling under, money changer or the money exchange license or whatever that thing is that you need. We're just here to sell cards. We're like a gaming company, but those cards have value in crypto. So it would actually become a relatively easy way, especially when we build the market, to go turn US dollars into cards, cards into Steem, and then Steem into whatever currency you want. It would put a lot of buying pressure on Steem. Maybe not a lot. I mean, we've had $80,000 in sales over the last 2 weeks. So that's not nothing, but in crypto, it's not like we're pushing $1 billion industry here. So companies already accept crypto. Yeah, so I reckon I put out a post last week or something where I just answered the question of what are the goals of this game? And I don't mean the goals of the game of like what are the objectives in the game? I mean, why is this important to Yaba and I? And to me, I can't answer for him, but to me, the value, like this falls under the same umbrella of what I'm doing with this Discord. It is a peace, abundance, and liberty project. It falls under the exact same mission of the Minnow Support Project, which is to say, spread the values of peace, abundance, and liberty. How are we going to do that? We are going to build that into the stories that we're putting together. I want to go grow the Steam ecosystem. How are we going to do that? We are going to try. I got to figure it out. It is my intention to figure out how to get US dollar purchases going. Not that it is that technically challenging, but making sure that I am protected when we do that. And then what's the other piece that I'm doing? Spread the values of peace, abundance, and liberty. Help grow the Steam ecosystem. So I also want to get account creation onto here. I think it'll be even better after Velocity because it's a real pain in the butt to do account creation now, in part just because it's expensive. And then the last thing I want to do is help train and retain minnows on the platform. I don't know how much this trains them, but I do think that a game that has kind of daily quests is going to help retain people here. And certainly when I put rewards into this platform and we make it, I don't want to guarantee this yet. It would be my desire to have a weekly tournament where the tournament winning for the grand tournament of the week is 1,000 SBD prize pool. The way that I hope to pay for that is to have a market, and that market is going to go take a small percentage cut, and we're going to use the vast majority of the profits of that to go feed the tournaments. So we're not going to shut down gifting, and we're not going to shut down the economy of trading that's already present. But if you would like a convenient experience where you don't need to find the double coincidence of wants, where you have the cards that somebody else has, or you have the currency they want or something, we'll just make it quite easy so that through the game you can go post the card for sale, sell it, we'll take a small cut, and that cut is going to go to the predominantly to the tournament pool. So that's how we're going to build that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the more accounts that we build, and like if we start giving Steam to these people and SBD to these people, and they're buying cards, and we're growing the ecosystem, I 100% agree that that's something that's going to raise our price. Um, I tend to follow the economics that I think are put out there by Trace Mayer. Mayer says crypto follows Moore's law, so when you double the number of users, you quadruple the price. So to me, the fundamental thing that I think I do as a community witness is try to bring people into this community and stay in this community, because I fundamentally believe that if you double the users, or more importantly, double the active users, will quadruple the price, and shit's gonna be awesome. I mean, it sucks because like right now the price of Bitcoin's way down and the market's down as a whole, but if we can keep growing and keep getting more active users, and hopefully this game is part of that, we're all gonna moon, and we all go to the same moon. So that's the piece that I wanted to share about all of that. You guys have been super patient with me. Thank you for kind of putting up with me as I kind of meandered my way to getting to Steam stats. Somewhere between the next hour and the next hour and a half or 2 hours, I probably have to save a little bit of time at the end of this, but somewhere between now and an hour and a half, it's all about these game stats, and we're going to talk about that starting right now. So this is the spreadsheet. This is the master spreadsheet. This is what we're using. This is the beast. And both Matt and I are sort of going back and forth between how we want to set this up, what skills we want to do, how we want kind of fighting styles to work, like what are we building into this thing. Okay, so let me it's so tricky to know how to start this. So let me go back just half a second here to kind of explain what is this game, and then once we know what the game is, then it's easier to see how this whole thing is going to be played. So I want to talk about this. I know it's one of the story things, but I kind of lay out some of how the game works, and then once we know how the game works, we can go back into the stats and do this. So let's see, the raw basics, commonalities. That's the map. Combat. So combat basics. Summoners are magical people. They have the ability to summon monsters to fight for them. Monsters may or may not exist commonly in your realm. That's a story thing. I guess what I want to share with this is that the summoners are going to have a mana pool, and the lower level and lower rarity summoners are going to have a smaller pool, and then the higher the level and the better quality of the summoner, they're going to have either way more mana, or they'll have abilities that buff all of the monsters that are part of their team. So the summoners summon the monsters, and they will buff the monsters that are under them. Now, there's a couple different play styles that we're trying to keep in mind for the different teams or the different splinters. So the black, I'm imagining, is sort of a Zerg style fight. The white is going to be heavy on protection. The green, I imagine, being tanky with a lot of healing. The red team is going to focus on high damage output. The blue team is going to have lots of abilities and low stats. And the gold team, I think, is going to have some extra stats, maybe fewer abilities. They're going to be some of like your biggest badass monsters. Okay, so now in the game, there's going to be a couple different classes. And the different types of classes, you're going to have 3 of the standards, and then there's going to be a 4th one. So the standards are tank, and those are the folks that absorb damage. You're going to have DPS, that's damage per second. It doesn't quite work in this context, but most people that play World of Warcraft and things recognize that this is just a term that means high damage output. So tank, DPS, and then you're also going to have sort of a healer or support. And this is what's going to keep your monsters from dying. The player is choosing both the summoner and the monster. So I don't have a graphic for this. I'm actually getting, if you guys have seen Steam Sugars, I'm asking the guy, the UX Yeti, to go put together some some screenshots of what we think fighting will look like. The actual process of fighting is you, as the player, will pick your summoner, and then you will pick monsters. And we're going to give you lots of different fights to choose from. And there's probably more fights than you have either mana or monsters. So you're going to be kind of resource limited with where you can go and where the monsters are going to go. The summoner is your mana pool, and the monster is the thing that costs you mana. So that's what the player is. The summoners are not actually fighting. They're like, if you play D&D, they're sort of like a bard, where they, you don't play the bard class because you're going to like kill monsters yourself. The bard class is really about party buffs. So the summoner, I've always hated the bard class, but the summoner is basically there to summon them and then there to buff them. So like the red summoner is highly likely to go add to damage output. So not only are the cards going to be high damage, but if you're using one of the red summoners with them, you're also going to go pump your damage output. White being sort of a protective group, if you bring a white summoner in, you might find healing, you might find increased defense. If you're using blue, you might find that you get lots of abilities, or maybe it ups your speed. All the different summoners are going to buff the monsters with different buffs. All right, so then in the game, you're going to have a tank, you could have DPS, you could have a healer, and we have to invent this sort of extra class, which is called an assassin. And that's because in the way that the game will play, whoever is first in your lineup is going to be your tank. And it doesn't mean that they actually have to be tanky. Maybe you have like a high-speed character that's dodging attacks. Maybe they're flying and they're fast and they're kind of like a paper tank, as opposed to like high defense and high health and really like an actual standard tank. But regardless, whoever you put first is going to be the person that gets attacked first by the other team. Now, just killing the tank is sort of fun, but we also wanted a way to go make it so that you could attack the people behind the tank. So what we're doing is we're building a class of characters where the tank is the person that takes damage. The DPS is somebody that might be able to cast Fireball and nuke the other team. The healer would be somebody that might only heal the tank or might actually heal your whole group. And the assassin is one of these classes that's kind of funky. They're going to attack the back line. So if you have like assassins, maybe you don't have the healers now. So you're kind of hoping that you can kill their back line before they can kill your tank. So you're kind of designing your D&D party. You're saying, this is the summoner, these are the buffs, here's my tank healer, here's my DPS, and I'm going to put in one or two assassins too to try to kill your whole back line. And what combination of skills and abilities you have, that's how it's going to fight. We're not going to go turn by turn. This isn't Magic the Gathering. This isn't Hearthstone. Some of those games are quite expensive to build, and I'm a little nervous, and that's not currently like the state of what we know how to do on the blockchain. So what we're doing is we're building, the game is really a drafting game, kind of like you would draft a fantasy team with something like a salary cap. So like the most familiar thing that you're used to would be like, I'm going to play in a salary cap league and I can choose whatever players I want. You're not going to have the ability to go pick the best running back, the Tom Brady. You can't pick all of your favorite tight ends because you run out of money. In this game, you're not drafting your football team, you're drafting your D&D party, and you're not just drafting one, you're probably going to draft maybe 10 to 20 of these things. And have them fight in various encounters that we put together. So this whole thing is much more of a drafting game than it is like a tactical, you played that card, so I'm going to play this card. And you played that card, so I'm going to play this. Like that's not quite how this works. It is more strategic. Mechanics of world travel. So world travel is going to happen in the campaign setting. So there is a map. There's a map for the world as it is, and there's a map for the prophecy world. And the sort of overarching storyline of the game is that the world was whole, and then some event happened to splinter it, and we don't know what that is as players in the game. We are here to discover that. And then, but there's a prophecy, and the prophecy states that the world will be whole again. So in season 1, my plan is to make it so that the gameplay is really about exploring. The gameplay was really about exploring the different splinters. So you're going to go explore the White Land, you're going to explore the Red Land, you're going to explore the Dragon Land, you're going to explore each one of those, and each one of those is going to have a campaign. So you're going to have a map. The map will have sort of the 6 continents that are splintered and separate from each other. They'll have a couple neutral locations, maybe the goblins, maybe this mercenary-esque tribe, maybe the central land of Mount Mox, where there's a trading house and the grand arena is built. And then if you click into any one of those maps, like I click on the blue team, it's going to bring me to the ocean that kind of surrounds all the continents. And we're going to see different floating cities of ships. We're going to see like some whirlpools. We're going to go see a portal. We're going to see the Kraken and some epic fight over there. And then as a player, you're going to kind of go through the campaign of fighting with your different summoners and monsters to go kill, what start off as pretty easy, simple, friendly dudes. And then by the end, you have to go kill a heroic boss monster. I know for a fact that the end boss of the dragons is Neoxian. Like I said earlier, I'm still selling the right or the ability to go be built into this game as a boss monster. So that's kind of the basics of how you're going to have the different teams. This is a drafting game. You're going to have a bunch of summoners. Those summoners are going to have a mana pool, and those the monsters get summoned, and it drains your mana pool. And you're going to have a whole bunch of different fights to kind of draft. And your real goal is to try to win the fights using the least amount of card points necessary. And there'll be a couple different fights. You could do dailies. You could do one-on-one PvP. And we're gonna implement the same ranking system that's used in chess for that. That's one of the things that Yaba told me today. We're gonna have some guild fights. So we're gonna try to make guilds and communities in this, and then you'll have a guild which is probably 12 to 15 people. Only 11 of them can fight in any given week, and we're gonna provide bosses that you're gonna have to kill. We're also going to have guild PvP, where my guild, the Agrodes Smashers, are going to go up against the battle team of Clove 71 and Fierstekin. And there's going to be 11 matchups, and whoever wins the majority of those 11 matchups is going to be the victor and then move on to the next round. What else do I have here? So we'll have a couple different ways that people can fight. There's the campaign mode, there's daily quests, there's going to be one-on-one PvP, there's going to be giant tournaments, and the giant tournaments are where the big prize pools are going to be. There's going to be guild PvP, and there's going to be guild PvE. So we're trying to build like lots of different fights, and all of those fights are important because I don't just want you to be like, okay, here's my best summoner and here's all my best monsters, and that's all I have to do today. We have to have lots of fighting so that you really have to draw from your whole roster to kind of fill your activity list for that day or couple days. And that's what fighting will look like. Some of the different teams, just kind of broad strokes here. We have gold. They're sort of ancient and powerful magics that are raw and unrefined. This is the sort of dragon team. Black is having to do with death. White is having to do with protection in the astral realm. And the only rule that I have is that it's got to have alchemy and science kind of mixed into how their magic works. Green is having to do with the planet itself and nature. Red is having to do with fire, and blue is having to do with water. So those are some of the different ability sets, or kind of like theoretics of what that team is drawing from to go make their power. And then in rock paper scissors fashion, we make it so that in any given fight, there's advantages of one color versus the next. So green is strong against blue. Blue is strong against red. Red is strong against white. White is strong against black. black is strong against green, and that's how that cycle repeats. So every single color, every single splinter is going to have somebody that they're strong against and somebody that they're weak against, except for the gold team. The gold team won't necessarily have debuffs from the other teams, but maybe those cards cost slightly more mana to cast. So, what else have I got? We got different types of the combat arenas. I already sort of went through those. And then the rest of this stuff is about storytelling in that game. But hopefully now you guys have a better sense of how you actually build the teams, and then we're going to go have those teams go into combat with one another. And now you need to know, how does the actual fighting work? So what we needed to do is figure out a way to make it so that commons, rare, epics, and legendaries can all fit into this game. And we needed to figure out a way that leveling can fit into the game. And we needed leveling, we needed rarity, and we needed mana cost. So those are the three kind of dials you get to play with to determine how powerful a monster is going to be. Max level, max mana cost, and max rarity is going to be like the biggest monster in the game. It doesn't mean that it wins against everything automatically. It just means that, like, the mana cost sort of describes how physically large this thing is, and is going to determine some of the stats, like how much health it has. And the more mana that you spend, the sort of like more powerful of a creature you get. That doesn't mean that it automatically beats everything else, but it's going to cost you to get that. So maybe you spend a lot to go get a big freaking tank, but then that's going to hurt your ability to get a support, a DPS, or an assassin. So you're going to have to find the right balance to go do this. What I'm really proud of that I sort of helped build into this system, these are some of my numbers. We're not using these exactly, but at the start of this, what I said is, okay, how do we make this so that, like, the legendaries don't just automatically destroy everybody? We want it so that there's sort of a fair fight here, but we do want to make it so that the legendaries are more powerful. So don't get stuck on these numbers, because these numbers are still subject to change depending on how we need to do it. But the process isn't going to change in that this is how many skill points a starting common is going to have. This is how many skill points a starting rare is going to have. This is how many skill points a starting epic is going to have. And this is how many skill points a starting legendary is going to have. So you'll notice it's something like it's a rare is 10% better than a common, and that's actually what these numbers are. The rare, I guess I have them in the wrong rows here, but if the common is set at 1, a rare is 10% better than that. A epic is 20% better than the common, and a legendary is 30% better than the common. And not only that, but I can also make the comparison of an epic is 9% better than a common, and an epic is 9% better than a rare, and a legendary is 18% better than a rare. And then lastly, the legendary is 8% better than an epic. So what if you needed like one number to keep in your head, these things are basically 10% different as you keep going up. And that's going to be important, because when you level, the most obvious one to follow is the common. As the common levels, it goes up in power by 10%. So if you have a mana cost, if I have a mana cost of like a mana cost common of 3 and a rare that's 3, that rare is going to be roughly 10% better. But if my common is level 2 and my rare is level 1, now they're actually going to have sort of similar amounts of or similar amounts of points to play with. So that we're trying to make it so that as you level, it's kind of like going up in rarity. As you spend more mana, it's kind of like going up in rarity. And as you go up in rarity, it's sort of like leveling more, or it's sort of like having a higher mana cost. So the balance of this game is sort of, there are three major levers, all of which get you roughly the same spot. You can get better by having a better mana cost, you can get better by having a better rarity, and you can get better by having a higher level. And all of those things are sort of roughly the same amount of benefit to your player. So that's what I got. So whether we're not necessarily going to stick with these exact numbers, so don't get hung up exactly on the numbers. But my major contribution to this scheme is sort of looking at making it so that leveling the common gets you about a 10% buff. Increasing your mana cost by 1 gets you roughly a 10% buff, and increasing your rarity gets you roughly a 10% buff. And that way it starts getting easier to kind of compare cards against one another. Okay, so now let's go look at some of the abilities. So all of these cards are going to have abilities. And it looks like he's using some of them, maybe all of them. Where is he pulling this from? Because he does have heal in here. So he just has, that's just heal. That's a little bit, but it looks like it's coming from abilities. I don't know. All right, sorry about the little rambling there. But here are some of the main abilities that you can get. And then I'll talk about stats in just a second. So your characters can have first strike, and that means that they attack first regardless of their speed. And maybe I'm doing this backwards. So here are the stats. You can have attack. Attack is how much damage your monster is going to do. You can also have magic attack. So your physical attack, you're going to get a chance to hit. So there's a little bit of luck built into the game, but you're going to have a chance to hit. And then this is how much damage you're going to do if you hit. Your magic attack works more like a magic missile spell in D&D in that it does automatic damage. But with that said, it actually costs twice as many points to get magic damage. So because it's more powerful, it costs more of the points that your monster is going to get. You're going to have armor. Now, armor is used to prevent physical damage. So if you get attacked, so like let's say this monster gets hit for 8, the attack. Let's say a Lord of Darkness is fighting a Lord of Darkness, and the first Lord of Darkness hits the other one. It'll do 8 damage. That 8 damage is going to go cut down its armor by 4, and then it's going to cut down its health by 4, leaving this monster with 2 health left. So the physical damage is what gets the armor kind of absorbs physical damage, and then it goes to health. Whereas magic damage is going to ignore how much armor you have and go straight to health. And then the sort of last ability is speed. And speed is going to do 2 things. The speed is going to make it will determine who goes first. So the faster a character is, the more likely it is that they'll go first. The second thing that it'll do is make it so that we're going to use this to determine how likely it is that you are to hit. So if you're like a slow character versus a fast character, the fast character is more likely to hit the sort of slow lumbering thing. If you're slow, you are less likely to hit this thing that's fast. So these are kind of your core stats. Attack, how much physical damage you do. Magic attack, how much magic damage you do. Armor is how much health, how much you can protect your health from physical attacks. Once you get through a physical attack, once you get through the armor, then it hits your health. Magic will just ignore the armor and go straight to your health. And then your last ability is speed. Speed determines who goes first in that round, and it also determines how likely you are to hit. Okay. Is there a sheet he has posted that we can read? Well, you can see this on msp-waves.com/listen. So there's a you guys can actually see this. You can see my screen. It's not all in my head. Sorry, I had this up there earlier. So go to msp-waves.com/listen, and you can see the various stats. Okay, so all of these stats cost points that that the card gets based off of its level, based off of its rarity, and based off of its level, rarity, and mana cost. So as we increase how much attack it gets, it's taking that away from its total points. Stats aren't the only thing that gives you that it are a benefit to your monster. The other thing it can get is abilities. So now let's go through some of the abilities. You have First Strike. So this makes it so that regardless of speed, your monster goes first. And if they both have First Strike, okay, now it's up to whichever one is faster. But until then, it's going to be, if I have First Strike and you don't, I automatically go first. We're going to have Flying. So if your monster has Flying, it means that it'll have a higher chance of evading attacks versus non-flying creatures. We'll have Trample. So damage beyond the necessary amount to kill an opponent carries over to the next opponent. We'll have Heal, and this means it'll heal a portion of health each combat round. We'll have Group Heal, so that all friendly monsters are healed for a portion of their health each round. We'll have Void. Void is going to have reduced damage from magic attacks. So if you feel like there's a lot of magic damage going around, you can go find a tank with Void, and it should be strong against that if that's the current meta. We'll have Shield. Shield is going to make it so that you can get reduced damage from melee attacks. And we'll have Dodge, which can be reduced damage from melee attacks. We're going to have Poison, and Poison will do 1 damage over time, so that each round... and if I think the way that this thing is going to work is that the first time that you get hit with poison, it's going to do 1 damage. If you get hit with poison again, it's going to do 2 damage. If you get hit with poison again, it's going to do 3 damage, so that poison starts stacking. You could stun, and this is going to give you a chance to stun your opponent. You can slow, and this is going to reduce the speed of the monsters. You can get rejuvenation. This is kind of a funky one. What we're currently thinking is, more dots is right. What we're currently thinking is that if we want there to be a benefit to beating the crap out of your opponent. So if you win but barely, that's not as good as I just mop the floor with your team. So what we did, but we don't want it to determine everything about the next fight. So what we're currently thinking is that if your monster dies in round 1 of the tournament, it will come back in round 2, but it will only have 75% of its health. But if your monster has rejuvenation, when it comes back, it'll be at full health. So if you are picking monsters that you can send to get its die and then come back at full health each round, that will help you. Whereas maybe somebody brings a big tank hoping that it won't die, but it does, and now it has a 75% health starting in the next round. Swipe. So with Swipe, you get does melee damage to all opponents' monsters. We'll have Blast, which does magic damage to all opponents' monsters. We'll have Inspire. All friendly monsters get an attack bonus. You'll get Protect. All friendly monsters get an armor bonus. You'll have Fear, minus 10% to the stats of other opponents. You'll have Retaliate, which is when hit, you'll have a chance to kind of return a hit back to the attacker. You get Enrage, which has increased attack damage when not at full health. You'll have Ranged, and Ranged does a melee attack to opponent's first monster from the back line. So right now, the only 2 groups that can do physical attack to each other are the tank that's in the first row and the tank that's in their first row. Those 2 will attack each other. If I have Ranged, now I can have a second card attacking that tank as well. And then lastly, I get Sneak, and Sneak is where I do melee damage to the opponent's last monster. So whoever they put last. Now, it looks like he has Heal and Group Heal. So it looks like these are the ones that he included. into his sheet. So now all of this together is what your cards are going to look like. You're going to have attack, you'll have magic attack, you'll have armor, health, speed, and then certain abilities as they level up. And this is what is ultimately going to create your deck. And you're going to build your monsters and you're going to be like, all right, I need a tank. Which one of these has a lot of armor and magic resistance? All right, here's a good card. I'm going to use that. So maybe I'm going to do something like armor. Here's a Twisted Jester. He's got a lot of armor. Maybe I can use him. Or here's a Frost Giant. The Frost Giant looks like a pretty good tank. It's got a lot of health and a lot of armor. Maybe I'll use that one. Here is a Goblin Shaman. It has no armor and very little health. That's probably not the one that I'm going to use. So that's where I'm going to go. That's the kind of logic that I want you to do. Here's the summoner that's going to provide the best buffs for this fight. Here's my attack, or here's my tank. Here's my healer. Here's my DPS, and maybe I'm including this assassin class too. And so what I'm doing is I'm drafting that, and what it does is if I draft my Lord of Darkness into one fight, I can't use it in a different fight. So now when I am trying to decide my next team that I'm going to draft in sort of the second most important round, then I'm going to be like, okay, this has a smaller prize pool, so I can't use quite as many of the best monsters that I have. So maybe I'm going to use these guys. And then you're like, okay, I have a third fight. I'm going to use this other summoner, and here are my leftover monsters. And here's my fourth fight, and here's my summoner, and here's my leftover monsters. Oh shit, I've used all my legendaries, I've used all my epics. All right, well, I have some dailies I could do, so I'm going to use some of my commons to fight the dailies. Oh, and I have some campaign stuff that I want to do. So here's the campaign stuff that I can fight through with the monsters that I have left that aren't involved in the other things that I prioritized first. And so what happens is, you'll kind of submit what you're going to do that day. You're going to draft all the teams that you're going to send against the monsters. And your goal is to sort of like, on the dailies, you could go send all your legendaries and you're going to kick ass, but it's kind of a waste because we're going to make the dailies sort of easy. So what you want is to sort of find the right common mix to go put the weakest cards that you have against the easiest fights, but still ensuring that they're likely to win. But something like the grand tournament, where there's 1,000 SBD prize, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to use my best freaking summoner. These are the cards that I have max level that are the highest quality. This team sort of plays best in this environment, and I'm going to make that decision. And one of my favorite parts about this game is sort of how you got to think through it. Hopefully you guys have actually watched The Princess Bride. And in The Princess Bride, there's Vicini. And Vicini, there's this great scene between Vicini and the Dread Pirate Roberts. And the Dread Pirate Roberts has poisoned the wine that's in front of them. And Vicini is going through and trying to figure out, should I drink the wine in front of me or should I drink the wine in front of you? And he keeps going through these logic steps to be like, well, you're a criminal. As a criminal, you would push the poison away from you, so I can't drink it the one in front of me. But I'm a smart man, so I'm obviously going to think that. So obviously I can't drink the wine in front of me. And he kind of goes through this circular logic. Well, what I expect to happen is that there's going to be a natural progression going through which cards are strongest at any given time. Because green is strong against blue, blue is strong against red, red is strong against white, white is strong against black, and black is strong against green, there's kind of going to be this natural flow going through what cards you're inclined to do. So what do I mean by this? Let's say that in week 2 of these tournaments, it's clear that the red team just kicked everybody's ass. The Phoenix and some of the other cards you pulled, the like fire, the Venom, what is it? My Serpent of the Flame. Like those cards together created this really badass team, and the red team is just kicking ass. Okay, well, there's a way to fight that because the blue team is strong against red. And so what you're going to say is, okay, last week the red team was everywhere. So I think that the smart thing to do is to go play a blue team because it's likely that if people keep playing the red cards, my blue cards are going to mop them up. And so you play blue, they get all these extra buffs, and they kill the red. And somebody else is going to say, you're going to have a smart guy like Swelker, and Swelker's going to come in and be like, red killed it. And you know what all these noobs are going to do? All the noobs are going to come in, and they're going to play blue cards. And they're going to expect those blue cards to mop the floor with the red ones. But I know that they're going to do that. So I'm not going to play the blue cards. What I'm going to do is play the green cards in anticipation of all the noobs who play the blue cards because the red cards were strong. So like as you are thinking your way through this, you're like, I could play red, but clearly I can't play red because that's what won last week. And because that won last week, the smartest thing for me to do is play blue. But I know that playing blue is the smartest thing, so the best thing for me to do is play my green deck. And so there's going to be kind of this rocks, paper, scissors logic that's built into what team you want to draft in a given week. So those are some of the things that I'm excited about. So this game is a drafting game. You will pick your teams. Those teams will have a whole bunch of stats spread between attack, magic, armor, health, speed, and special abilities. And you'll notice that the special abilities don't appear all at once. They kind of, as you level up, you get more and more of those special abilities. Maybe not every card. Every card might not. It looks like most of them have 3, but here's one with only 2. Maybe you want higher stats one week. Maybe you're like, all right, Aggro put in a debuff so that poison doesn't work this week. Everybody figured out poison, or all the monsters that were poisonous suddenly became ill because of something in the game. All right, so now in the grand tournament, I'm not going to play a monster that has poison, so that's going to change some of my strategy. So like we're gonna put in kind of weird external influences on how these fights work. We'll say something like ranged attacks don't work this week, or we'll say all the creatures with void are vulnerable. Void protection wore off. And not like it's going to be a permanent effect, but we can start shaping and changing the meta up so that now not only are you thinking what's the most likely card, what's kind of the ability set that I want. And so this whole game is about, in a football draft, you're just thinking like, okay, who's going to score the most points? In this, you're thinking, okay, how do I build the best team possible for the least amount of resources? So maybe I could win 3 tournaments this week because I didn't blow all of my best cards in just one fight. And even if you just blow all your best cards in one fight, if you're not paying attention to either the meta, or you're not paying attention to the rules of that fight, or you're not thinking through this at a strategic level, you're just going to get your ass handed to you because the game is designed for smart players to win. Okay, I think that's most of what I've got. It's no fun to look at this stuff kind of in a spreadsheet. You'll notice in the column AB, it all says update card. These are cards that Yaba has actually already started putting into the database that will feed some of the information into the cards in the game. So hopefully sometime this month, you're going to be able to click into the cards and see all the stats, and not just their current stats, but you're also going to see the stats as they level, what abilities they get, and we'll build descriptions of what all these effects do. So it's a really strategic game. It's a really strategic game with a little bit of luck. The little bit of luck is, I know I'm putting in low speed characters. Maybe they'll hit, maybe they won't. speed is really like one of the only places where there's going to be a luck factor in this. And otherwise, this game is really the spreadsheet right now is off limits, in part because I have things like business expenses, Matt's expenses. There's some stuff in here that I don't really want to go public. And on top of that, it's not entirely, these stats are not 100% put into place. Actually, I have a question for the audience. So, here's my question. Please stop typing for a second. I'm going to go give you two options, and I want you guys to put emojis under it. I want to know high numbers, low numbers. Okay, so those two things you could actually put here. Let me make it a little bit clearer. You guys can put emojis under these, and I'm going to use that to figure out what you'd actually like to see in the game. We have the ability to have this be something like 8 attack and 4 armor and relatively small numbers. And then the bonuses that you would get from various items or skills or other things would just be like, all right, this turn you get +1 to attack. You've leveled up, you get +1 to armor. So we could do it so that instead of doing percentages or something, you would just get +1s or +2s. Maybe a legendary sword might give you +3 to attack or something. The other thing we could do is make this so that the numbers are higher, basically multiply these things by 10, so that now your attack is 80. And with 80, it makes a little bit more sense to go do something like +20% attack. So it's not just +2, but now it's plus 20%. Do you guys think it's better to have the low numbers, or do you think that you would prefer to have the high numbers, where like, you could have 200 attack, and then sort of see how the items shift that around? It looks pretty overwhelming for the lower numbers. So it's likely that all of these things are going to be. Yeah, I mean, that's why I like the high numbers. I like high numbers because, just like Jarvie said, I have a lot more ways that I can tweak this. I mean, the challenge with the low numbers to me is that, like, okay, here's an undead priest. The undead priest has an attack of 1. If I add 1 attack to that, I have literally doubled it. And doubling that attack is like, that's kind of a big change for that undead priest to go from 1 attack to 8, or 1 attack to 2, sorry. If, however, I can do percents, and like, I don't want to get into fractions in this stuff because I think that makes it hard. But if I could do something like 10%, now instead of going from 1 to 2, it's going to go from 10 to 11. So yeah, it increases, but it didn't double, and I'm not stuck or forced to double it. Yeah, I mean, maybe I can go do like half a point or something. But I think it's pretty clear you guys would prefer low points. So that's okay. I'll do low points. I think it restricts me as a game designer, but that's fine. I want you guys to be happy. This game is, I'm trying to build what you want, so that's what we'll do. We'll use low points. Okay. So I guess what I want to do is invite some folks on air. If you have a question that you would like to, if you have a question that you want to ask me, why don't you put like a 2 into chat? Like, put the numeral 2 into chat, and I'll use that to be like, okay, you can come on to the show. So let me go grab Crumb the Conqueror. Are you there, bud?
Yeah, what's up?
So, what do you think?
I'm more economically minded, so while I think like the game aspect of everything is really cool, I'm kind of like wondering if you guys are planning on like printing like finite numbers of packs and discontinuing them at some point so that they appreciate.
Yes, but not the alpha. in the alpha, I need to keep getting development funds, and if like we stop selling those packs, I can't get new players into the game, and I can't get um, like it stops. So what I do want to do is like when we get maybe into the beta, release a pack of cards and say you have exactly 1 year to purchase these. We'll sell you as many as the community wants, but at the end of 1 year, we're no longer selling them. So that would be one way that we could do that. In terms of rarity, one of the next things we're going to do, we're going to go put in foils, and so your cards are all going to get gold foil options. I think that's happening this coming week. So if you have, so now not only could you get like a legendary, but that legendary could have a gold foil. So like the rarity of that is something like 1% and 1%. I think that makes that 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 1,000. So like 1 in 1,000 cards is going to be a legendary card with a gold foil. So we're going to introduce some more elements to go make this thing harder to collect all of the like coolest cards in the game. And when we get into the beta and when we get into the full game, I have every intention of making packs that you can't infinitely get. We'll either have a set number of packs that we sell, or we'll have a set time where at a maximum it would be 1 year. We will sell these packs for 1 year, and then after that, the cards are gone. So those are two ways that I would think of doing that. But in the alpha, what I got to do is build a community. And so as I don't know how I could keep building a community if suddenly I can't sell the decks.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense, and there's probably got to always be like that core base set or whatever. But just like what you're saying, like I think any kind of like expansions or like add-ons should definitely be time restricted, so that way, like there's incentive to purchase the packs and hold them.
Yeah. So what am I doing? I'm gonna do. I have something like 50 more cards that I already have art for. I will probably release another 50 cards into the alpha at some point. I'm hiring my artist, the same guy that did all these, starting this week to go build another 100 cards, and starting to work on items. I think items are still going to be part of the alpha, so we're going to go put in another 50 to 100 monsters, and there'll be legendaries in that, and maybe some of these legendaries will be lower rarity chances, so that maybe you could get a low rarity legendary that is also a gold foil, which is sort of like lottery like. So we'll build that in, but we'll also get items. And so one of the things that I get really excited about is the ability for you to customize all of your cards. Every single card that's in here has its own distinct identity on the chain. So like this gets weird, but like can you tell me the name of any Magic the Gathering card? Some kind of angel or something?
Yeah, I mean, Angel of Mercy.
Okay, so in Magic the Gathering, every single Angel of Mercy is the same. In our game, each one is like Angel of Mercy 1, Angel of Mercy 2, Angel of Mercy 3, and each one of those independently has experience, and independently each one of those can have items. So one of the things that we are going to allow you to do is not just fight the exact same combinations of summoners and monsters, but we're going to have loot either through boss fights or through guild tournaments or through the giant PvP fights. And that loot is going to, you're going to make decisions about that of like, what extra armor am I going to give this monster? Or maybe I don't give him armor. Maybe the item that I give this monster is extra speed. Or maybe I go to the goblins and get some steampunk shit and now make them flying. So maybe you're going to have the ability to either buff their stats through the items or give them additional abilities. And so these cards are going to have certain characteristics. the items are going to have characteristics, and guess what? Those items are going to level too. So they're going to be able, at level 1, that item might give you, +1 to speed. By the time that you've max leveled it, maybe it's giving you +3 or +5, depending on the rarity. So your ability to go customize these cards is going to go up. And I know that's not quite your question, but when I introduce more cards and I introduce more legendaries and I introduce more items, the chance of you being able to collect the maximum amount of any given legendary is going to go way down. And so, like right now, if you wanted to maximize every single card and stat in the game, you would probably have to go spend more than $1,000. By the time that we roll out 50 more monsters and maybe 50 to 100 items, that cost goes up. I don't think it'll just go up linearly. I think it starts getting exponential. So collecting all of the cards in the game gets harder and harder. And what it really does is make it so that every new player that's brought in really becomes like an open sponge to go collect cards from everybody else that you have in excess. So that's what I think will happen.
Yeah, that definitely sounds interesting.
Do you feel like that's going to meet your requirements and needs? Is there something else that you wish I was saying that I should like build into my current plan of how we're going to grow the deck? And then like the alpha deck, I do plan on being sort of like infinitely scalable to all players. Beta deck, maybe not. Maybe we'll have in the alpha deck, we could go have limited run characters. So maybe we get Agrodius the Lightbringer, and Agrodius the Lightbringer, there's a maximum of 10,000 in the alpha deck, and then they're gone. So maybe we could go introduce a couple characters where you could still get infinite numbers of alpha, but there would be like a handful of commons, rares, epics, and legendaries that have a short print run.
Like one thing that I've seen in some of these similar like card games is like whenever you do like say like a guild run on like one of these like PvE raid event things or whatever, they'll give you unique cards that are either like early access to the next booster or like some of them are just pure like 100% limited, and you can only win them like say in one of these events. Now those obviously dramatically increase in value just due to how rare they are, but there's also kind of like the problem of trying to like complete them, right, with like leveling them up. So it gets into a more complicated area. But as much as like it's kind of like I don't want to say like it's like annoying from like a player perspective because I mean like it definitely adds value to the game. Like I'm just wondering if like some of these things are like on your radar. Or...
Can you refine that question a little bit for me?
Like, would you ever tie limited edition cards into the game that are not available just to buy in packs and have like a lotto chance of opening?
Well, I'm sort of thinking of doing that through boss fights.
Right.
So what I want to see is loot drop. So like in WoW, I go kill the boss, and there's a card that I can get, but I can't get it from the packs. I have to go do it from an in-game thing. And I could imagine the same thing for the grand tournament, that legendaries will drop as part of the grand tournament. So not only is there a prize pool of 1,000 SBD, but there's going to be some items that only the winner of the grand tournament is able to earn. I don't know if I'm going to limit those. That wasn't the first thought that I had, but
well, you have to be able to win the grand tournament, right?
Yeah, I mean, winning the grand tournament, you're fighting literally every single person in the game that chooses to compete. So And the grand tournament, it kind of depends on how much money we make. My goal is to make the grand tournaments worth a minimum of 1,000 SBD every time we do it. So right now, I'm pretty confident I could say we will do this once a month. But if the money is coming in through trading and taking little bits off the trade, and lots of people are buying boosters, and everybody's playing, and then what we could actually do is kind of go into this and say, all right, it seems like we have enough community support at this point to make it so that we will have 1,000 SBD tournament every Saturday. And that's what I want to get to. That's like, that's my short-term goal, because just imagine what that does for the freaking block. If we can say, hey, play this game, it's fun, you can level up all your shit, and by the way, the winner gets a prize pool. You know, it's not all the winner gets 1,000 SBD, but the prize pool is 1,000 SBD. So like the winner would get 500 SBD, and then second and third place, or second place might get, I don't know, 200, and then third and fourth, and then the next tier, like we can pay out prizes, and the prize pool would be 1,000 SBD. And I just think that would be like a really big draw, not only to this game, but people are going to be like, wait, I play that game and I could win hundreds of dollars, up to like thousands of dollars. Like, that sounds pretty awesome. I want to join Steam so I can join Steem Monsters. And I think that would make it a really big draw. So that's my objective here.
Definitely makes sense. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to promote the blockchain.
Yeah, and that I put out a post a week ago saying like, hey, what are my objectives? And again, my objectives are spread the values of peace, abundance, and liberty. And I see Torco sort of trolling me for that, of like, but you're building a fighting game. Well, like, yeah, the fighting itself is going to have some combat in it, but the actual values built into the game are going to help spread peace, abundance, and liberty. So like, when you get to part of the storyline is going to be something like, let's do an example of the blue team needs to go build some giant anvil so that they can make a not a rudder, what's the thing that goes all the way down, that it's not your mast, your keel. What's the thing that balances your or keeps the weight at the bottom? Hopefully somebody, where the hell are my sailors at? But anyways, you need some giant piece of metal to go make your ballast. So you need ballast, or maybe you need a hull, or you need something that's going to protect you from the freaking kraken that keeps attacking your ships and sinking them by breaking all the wood. So you need more metal, and maybe you need magical metal. So in order to get the magical metal, you're going to do your blue magic, but you have to go kind of like steal this extra firepower. Like, not firepower meaning like guns or something, but you steal the power from the fire team. You like divert a mana stream to go make that happen. And you don't think it's going to hurt anybody, but you end up causing mass misery and suffering in the red community by having done that. And so we can go explore some of like the unintended consequences. Another example of this might be like the white team has to go do alchemy, and in order to go create the palaces and the science and all of that, they divert energy or resources, or like starve the black team from what they need to survive. So we're going to go kind of through some of the morality of that. So yeah, there's combat, which I agree isn't peaceful, but it's a freaking game. But what we're going to explore are some of these concepts of, sometimes what we're doing is causing harm to other groups. How can we find a better balance so that all of us can get our needs met, while also sort of we get our needs met, but we're not causing harm to other communities?
Well, I would just say we never claim to be pacifist, abundance, and liberty. So,
Yeah, well, sometimes it's do no harm, but take no shit. So if somebody is causing you shit, this isn't necessarily a pacifist group. We prefer peace. Peace sounds awesome, but if you're here to go send soldiers and kill us, it's okay to defend yourself. So we'll have some storyline of that too. Do you
So
feel like
I got one other question.
hit me?
Okay, I know you said whenever you add like foils to the game that it's going to be retroactive, right?
Yes. We
So
when we add foils, cards that have been in existence will have a chance of getting foils.
So I guess my question is, like whenever you combine cards, does it just like default keep the foil? And if so, is that gonna take into account like,
I don't
say
know
you
how
have like a
Yaba is programming it. That's a question for Yaba, but he got Wagro. I don't know if you guys know that term, but Wagro is wife aggro, and wife aggro is sort of like he spent too much time coding and building this thing, so he got in trouble with his wife, so he couldn't come on the show tonight. That's a direct question for Yaba. I know that we're building foils, and I know that we're not like cranking the percentage for people um, retroactively to sort of say, "Hey, thanks." He's like, "Nope, people want value, so we're going to go keep this extra low." So I don't know. I don't know how he's handling the folks that have already combined them. So that can be a question for Yaba. I'm sure when we make an announcement, we'll explain what that looks like.
thank you.
Okay. All right. Are there other people that have questions? This is like a complicated thing. If you guys have a question and you want to come on air, you are welcome to put a 2 in the. You can put a 2 in chat, like the number 2, and I'll bring you on air. Jarvie, he's just hanging out with his wife because otherwise he's in trouble tonight. I don't know. If you guys are married, do you understand? You understand that?
Agar, this is the first time I've ever had people accuse me of being loud on any radio show.
Well, I think I just have OBS turned up too much for. Here, go speak again, will you?
No,
Yeah,
I don't speak on command.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I just had to turn you down some because you're way cranked. All right, who's got other questions? Who wants to know how this thing is going to work? Guys, if you have ass loads of money and you don't know what to do with it, I would tell you go get built into this game. Fund our development, fund us on the blockchain, get built into here. You're going to be a freaking heroic boss monster. Let me put the link in there again. I mean, if you like the sound of this thing, if you like having a blockchain game, if you like people coming to Steam and buying our Steam and playing our games and stuff, we could use your development money to go help make this thing more awesome. The short story is that, neither Matt or I are running out and getting a Lambo with the money. Each one of us thus far, after nonstop work, we have reimbursed some of our expenses, and we took out $1,000 each. And that was only because we got paid in. I got paid for I got $1,000 in an Amazon gift card, and I was like, "All right, I don't know what else to do other than just have you cash that out." So that's all that we've taken out, and it wasn't like even really intentional. So our goal isn't to like use this to suddenly just drive Lambos everywhere. Our goal is to go build the Steam ecosystem and build the coolest freaking blockchain game that exists right now. So hopefully you'll shell out a little bit of cash, and we'll see that.
Agar, will you get me an electric scooter?
Will I get you an electric scooter?
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting a Lambo, I think I should at least get an electric scooter.
I mean, I'm not getting a Lambo. If I get a Lambo, I'll buy you an electric scooter. How about that?
Deal.
Okay. In what ways do you see that the early adopters getting value by being here early and accepting risk by joining a game that is still in development? I'm just intrigued by your response. I think you guys are going to have more time to sort of like get better decks so that by the time that the first tournaments roll around, you'll have a better understanding of all this stuff. You'll be part of this game. You might actually get built into the game. Like Bernie Sanders, he bought all the cards first, so we're going to call it Feed the Burn, and the burn is going to get put into the storyline as I don't want to explain all parts of it, but creatures across the entire Splinterlands are gonna like start suffering, or they already are suffering, and there's some kind of like problem that's causing them the suffering, and we're calling that infection the burn, which again is a reference to Feed the Burn, which is a reference to Bernie Sanders. So like, you guys, he bought cards, but he didn't like spend extra money or something. He did cool shit that was part of this, so we built them in. The people that aren't here, they're not going to be able to like build stories and actually get put into the game, or like design parts of the game. They can't like make this their own experience. Like for the first legendaries, like we had the legendary rate up too high, so literally everybody that bought cards before like Tuesday of last week had a 40% higher rate of legendaries than everybody else for the rest of the game will get. So you guys have more legendaries than everyone else too. That one wasn't quite intentional, but you want to know some of the benefits. You guys had legendaries, and you have access to building the storyline. You have input into the game because you guys are here. You get to co-create this experience with us, and that's not something that some Magic the Gathering dude a year from now will be like, "Hey, I heard about Steam Monsters. I want to play that." Like, he'll have to start from scratch and build his way into the community and show value to maybe get part of this. I mean, my goal is to make this the most customer-centric thing ever, so that if you're part of a guild like Battle Team, and Battle Team has Clove and Fierstekin, and maybe they attract another couple like star players, if they start winning everything, then like the lore of the game will focus on Battle Team, and we'll start telling stories of their epicness in the things that we release. So that's some of what I would say to Jarvie. I haven't seen any more twos. Anybody else want to come on board and ask me a question here? I mean, you guys can just ask questions normally, or just put it in chat. I don't know.
Aggroed, I have a question.
Hit me.
I think on some level there has to be a hug dragon.
A hug dragon? If you would like there to be a hug dragon, there's an opportunity to buy a campaign boss monster fight, and you are certainly welcome to go build a hug monster. I mean, I do want, jokes aside, I do want more than just combat in these things. I mean, I think that there's ways that we can make it so that these are like trials of strength, trials of speed. It doesn't always have to be kill or capture your opponent. We can build other types of conflicts into this, where maybe it's not about damage output at all. It's just about absorbing damage. So like, you'll get Cruel King Claiborne, and all he wants to know is how many times he can hit you before you fall. And if it's too early, then he won't grant you his wish. If it's late, then he'll be proud of you. And so we could build in things that are like, test your armor, test your speed. It doesn't always have to be kill the bad guy.
Like, I actually have a really cool idea, but I think I'm gonna send you that in private, because I don't. This is something you might actually want to consider doing, like in the future. I don't really want to give it away. It might be like a spoiler alert thing.
Okay. I don't see any more twos. This is your last chance. If you guys want to ask any more questions this evening about how fighting works and whatnot, the stats should go live on the cards in the next 2 weeks, I imagine. We're not super far off from sort of finalizing what we're doing. I did want to know from the audience if we're doing high points or low points, and it seemed overwhelming low points, so we'll stick with that. I don't know. Any last questions? What's next on the roadmap? The roadmap is foils this week, a super secret project in the not too distant future. Hopefully that's in June. I think it could actually change how the chain works. It's pretty exciting. What's the next one? We're going to get trading hopefully going before the start of July. And Matt, once we kind of build out the stats, Matt is going to start building out the fighting engine. So, something like a whole tournament system or like a giant PvP system, that might take a long time. But it's possible that we'll get some daily quests going maybe in July. So I think those are some of the things that are there. The alpha set's not going to be discontinued. You guys, everybody really wants something that will be discontinued. So I'll work with Yaba and we'll go put in like a set of legendaries that we'll make it so that there's only like, I don't know, give me a number. How many?
Accurate. I got it. I know what we need here.
Oh God.
A limited edition beta alpha exclusive card for early adopters.
And it's going to be Lambos? What do you want?
I have to leave that up to you guys, but I think like just some kind of card that like maybe like doesn't even come in a pack, like first people to like run dailies. It's like a little bit of a grind or something. It kind of like helps you guys do like some beta testing or whatever, but it also has a reward that will never again be a possibility to get. So well, it's
maybe some of what we can do is put in we'll give discounted prices at the Goblin marketplace. So like when we release items, we'll make it so that they're a little bit cheaper to start. I don't think you're going to buy all of your items, but we'll have some for sale, and maybe we'll do discounts to the alphas, and then when it gets to betas and the real game, it'll be more expensive for people to own. But I also I do like the idea of putting in a handful of rares, or a handful of like legendaries or epics that are going to have limited print runs. So even though the epics and the legendaries will be available in the alpha, and the alpha will never sell out, maybe there are some cards in the alpha that you can only get while the alpha is running, or like up until the last card is discovered. How many cards do you think I should do for something like that? I kind of have like 10,000 or 20,000 in mind.
Well, considering like how many it takes to like combine them, I don't think that like it'd be that big of an issue to like have like 10,000 or 20,000. I mean, I think it's like almost necessary.
One per active user at the time they're released. That brings us down to only 1,000. I mean, I got a balance. I do want there to be a limited market for some of these cards. I also want to make it so that I want to give the alpha an advantage, not make the alpha unstoppable.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not even saying it has to be like some super overpowered card. I'm just saying it needs to be something like exclusive to, like, kind of, it's kind of like an early adoption reward, right? Like if somebody comes in later, just like even if you look at like Crypto Kitties or something, for an example, right? Like if you want a Gen 1 Crypto Kitty, like you're going to pay out the ass for it.
Yeah, so Mr. Sanchez, or Mr. Viquez, he's got an idea that I'm poking around with of like skins. Can I get you guys skins that you can only get in the alpha? So like all of these things I recognize as being important, but I like without a doubt, without any doubt in my mind, the two most important things that I could possibly do for this game are one, get the market up and running, and two, get fighting up and running. So anything else that we're talking about adding cards, changing rarity, doing limited edition print runs, any of that stuff, to me, a lot of that stuff I think will happen in beta. When we have a working fighting system, and that's not like the screaming priority in both of our heads of when is fighting? When is fighting? Have you released fighting? Is fighting up yet? Because we want to fight. You know this is a fighting game. We want to kill each other. Can we kill each other yet? Like, I am very well aware that everybody wants that, and I only have one Yaba. So if I take Yaba off of fighting and marketing, not marketing, but like creating a market in game, to go do something else, then it's not a net zero. It pushes back when fighting happens. So I'm personally inclined to say shit like, nothing else matters relative to this game except getting the market and the fighting up. And then after that, we can do all these kind of like rarity changes and things.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like the auction house market type thing, like that needs to be like top priority.
Yeah, like one of my favorite parts of that is that we're going to take a cut and we're going to go build tournament pools. So if you guys want to win like huge amounts of money when you're fighting, then like that's kind of a critical point. And I agree. Reseller likes to say things like, the things that really make this are story, gameplay, and secondary market. Like the game will suck if the gameplay sucks, but if there's not like an easy secondary market, then people don't want to be a part of it because part of this is that the cards are going to go up in value. So I hear that and I know that. I'm not ignorant of that, but economics can be my priority in beta, but in alpha, the only thing that matters to me is I got to get you markets and fighting, and everything else other than that is a distraction for Yaba.
Makes sense.
So hopefully you guys can forgive me for that. It should be the other way around. The alphas get retired when the betas come out, and there will be a collectability aspect to the game. Like in Sports Card, every year a new set comes out. The older cards never get produced again. I don't know how to do that. Let me think about that. It wasn't on my radar. If I do that, I don't want it so that immediately alphas are dead, but there would be a timeline for the beta users. I mean, I got people that'll say, when the fighting is here, I'll play. So again, I'm more inclined to do things like there's going to be limited edition print runs of cards that will add. I can't just imagine getting rid of my entire alpha deck. Like I don't have enough cards to then suddenly be like, all right, here's a brand new deck. Let's all toss that out. I mean, maybe if my artist goes quickly and we build all this stuff, but like building all these stats takes time. Building all the stories take time. Like I don't know how I'm going to just up and retire my alpha. I could see up and retiring part of my alpha, but it just seems too critical to the game to do it the other way around. Yeah, maybe background colors. Yeah, I could see a staged, like we release the deck that comes out for beta, and then maybe we put a time limit on how many more of the alpha cards will sell or something. Or maybe we put in 10%, or like you said, maybe we give them different borders, or we can put some kind of signal that they're alpha cards rather than not, or maybe they're first edition, and then the second edition cards come later, and we stop printing the symbol. So there are some smaller things that we could do to increase their rarity and just show that they are cool as fuck relative to all the other cards. Okay. All right. So hopefully you hear I have limitations, and I either have to get over them or think through them. I'm willing to go work with the people that want these things. I'm open to sort of ideas. Again, the rarity and the retiring is not my highest priority. It will be. I think that the secondary market and the story become my highest priority in beta. But right now, my highest priority is product and getting a game that works. So everything that isn't that is, if it has to do with product team, like adding new cards or changing rarities or something, that all has to do with my product team, and that I can't divert Yaba from making the market, and I can't divert Yaba from making the fighting. Once market and fighting are done, then I'm totally open to revisiting all this stuff and really trying to work out with the people that show up to these shows how you want me to like limit stuff and how you want me to start winding down the alpha or something like that. That I can do, that I can commit to. Like by commit to, I mean I can work with you guys to figure out a way that works for both us as game owners and you guys as the community, and we can phase out cards or phase out skins or phase out something over time, because we still got to grow this community. We only got like 1,000, 1,200 people that are part of it. Like we're nowhere near where we need to be. We need to be at like hundreds of thousands of people that play. So we still have like a shit ton of ways to go. Okay, so I'm sort of planning on ending here in the next 15 minutes or so. Are there questions? Any other questions? Anybody else want to come on air? I mean, if you the number one thing I would ask you guys to do, I think Clove is one of the best examples of this. Chica goes out and gives out some packs and like brings in new users. The single most valuable thing besides like buying decks that you guys can do is give a pack to somebody new. If you guys start giving packs to new users, and you can sort of show, I gave this pack to this new user and they bought more cards, I will go give you new cards to give out. I will like reimburse you, because what I want is new players more than anything else. Like my job right now is to grow this community and keep you guys engaged, either through contests and writing and story and details and explaining all this shit. But I also want to see new players coming in. So if you want to get, I think the best thing we can do is sort of get new people here. And I'm not worried about card inflation if we're bringing in new players. And I'm not talking like I'm going to give you 100 decks. I'm talking like, you give out some decks and the players come, I will reimburse those decks. So we'll see how that goes. But you can be cool if you're handing out real decks to real people and those people are buying decks after that. Then I'll reimburse them and I'll help you. And it'll be awesome. Yeah, if you guys, hey, Blunt Smasher, if you want your own guild room in the Discord, I can go make that for you. Anybody that's kind of creating a guild can have their own guild in there. And I'll help and facilitate that. You could ask a mod and say I'm forming a guild. And we'll keep guild creation free for now, but at some point maybe we'll charge for it, or maybe we'll charge to have that in the Discord, but not for alpha folks. We just want you to socialize. Okay. Last chance, and then I'm calling it a night. Actually, Clay, are you going on air after me?
Nope.
Do you sometimes go on air after me on Sunday nights?
I did like once, but no, I'm Saturday night.
Oh, maybe it's Nathan. Nathan K might be going on after me. I don't see him in here, so I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna tap out. So last chance, I'll stay on for 2 more minutes unless if you guys ask me a question, I'll stay on. I don't have more stuff that I want to share at this point. I got stuff to share, but I'm not sharing it yet. It's a stoner guild.
I'm gonna slide back to the audience.
All right. I don't see any twos. I don't see anybody that wants to come on. So
What the heck, bro? We didn't talk enough falsetto.
we can talk in falsetto later. The people don't want to hear that just yet.
But
Okay.
I think we should have a card that specifically speaks in falsetto.
What question am I reading? Yeah, there's nothing funnier than hearing Clay's like shit. What's the picture? You're like voice distortion because you're a witness to a crime.
Yeah.
So he's got that deep voice, and when we do falsetto, the people seem to like it. All right, I don't see any twos. I'm calling it a night. Oh, you have questions? Will foils be sold, or do they come with abilities? The foils are the same cards, but now they have a gold outline, and they're just a lot rarer. I think the stats are going to stay the same. Yaba wasn't telling me anything different. Are you going to make a Steam Monsters radio hour? I don't think I'm going to need a Steam Monsters radio hour forever and ever. I mean, I think while Alpha's going and all this story stuff and like we are in full court press with the public, we're going to need it. But like a year from now and the game's going and the guilds are going and everybody's just kind of doing this stuff, I'm not sure that we're going to need it. So I'm gonna keep taking over my radio spots right now, and then change and I hope to go back to like my standard Minnow Mayor Town Hall format later, but that's not yet. Yeah, I hope fan accounts do Monster Hour talking strategy. Yeah, I know that you have Steam Monster or Monster World. I'd love to see like the community taking that over. Like one day, like the joke I make is like, God, I should spend some time with my kids. They seem like lovely people. You know, it's like all I do is Steam stuff, and all I do is Steam Monsters, and like all day long, this is my life. It would be nice to. I'm grateful for this experience, and it's a shit ton of fun. Like my wife misses me. I catch Wagro, and I'm here until midnight or whatever. So it would be nice to kind of go back to that. So I need like the community to pick up some of these things. But for now, I'll keep doing this and get as much information out as we can and keep the users informed. And if users are doing cool shit, we'll go build them into the game. And who has maxed level full collection? Is that Gutierrez? Did he pull it out? That would be amazing. If somebody has all cards max level, I'll go build an achievement for them. And everybody that finally gets there at some point can get that achievement too, and it'll be named after them. The other thing with like the alpha, if you max out all of your cards, yeah, link the post, dude. I'll go re-steam it right now. If you max out any of the cards, your name is going to go down as like the first person that did that. I think that's something I can do. I'm pretty sure that we can just read the block for that. So, yeah, I saw him buy like $1,000 worth of, or it's probably more, but he spent a lot of Steam over today. You guys can check the wallet. Homeboy bought a lot of cards. So, it was a good day for us. I'm stoked that he has a full deck. We gotta go. I'll build if he actually has a full deck of cards and everything is maxed. He's got a full max set of legendaries. Shit. Oh, yeah, it's Thomas that did that. Fucking A. That dude's hardcore. Okay, we can re-steam this. I gotta re-steam that on like every platform I have. That'll take a second. Yeah, that's freaking cool. All right. Well, folks. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I owe you a hug. You can collect a hug for me anytime you want. I mean, he's the one that I owe something to. I mean, well, maybe both of you. I don't know how many people will fight you. I know he's a steam monster whale. Hey, so Neoxian? I don't know if you guys know this story. I freaking love this. And Neoxian has been lending money on the Steam platform for almost a year or something. I guess he started with delegation with me right before Hard Fork 19 went live. I think we invented delegation rental. I don't know of any post before us, and nobody's ever challenged me on that. But I think we had the first public delegation rental out of anybody on the blockchain. So I think we invented that. And he also has been lending money. Recently, he accepted Steem Monsters and like a set of legendaries as collateral for his loan. So I'm pretty stoked for that too. So I think that's a good show. I think we did everything we needed to do tonight. I hope that you guys understand more about how the game is played, what these monsters will do, some of their stats. Stats will start appearing on the cards within the next week or two. Foils should be on the cards within a week or two. A super secret market thing should be on the block in a week or two, and maybe even the market will be sort of between the next 2 to 3 weeks here. So that's kind of the most pressing of changes, and then after that is like all around fighting all the time. So that's what I got. I'm gonna go call this a night. Call in the raid. You guys are swell. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for buying cards. Please go tell other people about this game. That's how we're going to grow this. Please consider writing with us. Please hop into that Discord. I guess I should share that Discord link one more time. Invite people. Never expire. Copy and bring that over here. Paste. All right, you can join there. And if you want to write for us, go check out some of the writing stuff. We have contests. We also have backstories that need to be created. A post will go out about that very soon. And that's what I know. You've been listening to msp-waves radio. It is June 10th. It's 11:26. I'm Aggroed, Witness 9. You're in the Peace, Abundance, and Liberty Network, listening to msp-waves. We're talking about Steem Monsters. The link is in Discord, and I think that's a night. So hopefully you guys have dug this, and thanks for playing my game, and let's go build something totally freaking awesome. Good night, guys.